This is 27 Degrees, our angle on Google Workspace. All right, welcome back to another episode of 27 Degrees. We're excited to cover some of the recent news and updates coming out of Google Workspace Summit and Google I/O in the last couple of weeks. Rowan and I both attended. In fact, SADA was a sponsor of the event, and our sessions and speakers are still available on demand. We'll have a link somewhere in the description down below to check those out. But Rowan, you were there. You were part of the Google Workspace Summit, speaking with our friends and customers at WeWork. How'd that go?
That's right. And I mean, even before we discuss the specific session, I think it's great just to note that Google for the first time have created this dedicated sort of virtual event where they celebrate organizations, teams, and people around the world using Workspace and taking advantage of it in different ways. I think it's fantastic to see that from Google. It was also great to have a chat again with Chad from WeWork. And he was discussing and describing again a story that we've actually told in a previous episode of the show of how we helped, or SADA helped, specifically transition them from Zoom to Google Meet in 16 days. And they have 5,000 users, locations worldwide. And we made that transition really seamless and possible through a mixture of change management and good documentation and training. Really a program that we delivered to them that made that change happen so seamlessly. So excellent to have that conversation with again, and even discuss some of WeWork's plans, because of course they're involved in building the future of work and influencing that too. So it's great to even touch upon some of the things that we might see in the future from them also.
Yeah, and we also had Michael Ames, SADA's very own Managing Director of Vertical Markets with SCL Health, and they were talking about modernizing patient and provider experiences with Google Workspace and SADA. That session's also available on demand, so if you're in the healthcare industry and you're interested in how Google Workspace can modernize your workflow, check that one out as well. I really liked the announcement around the integration with SAP. I think that's massive, especially in our industry as a reseller partner with lots of customers with various pieces within their environment. Now this opens up to the way we can leverage Google Workspace with our customers who also leverage the power of SAP. And we're able to actually integrate and bring that data into Workspace to work with it. So that'll be a game changer, I think. Another thing that I wanted to key in on was this really aspirational demo of a day in the life of a new employee starting on in an organization that has Google Workspace in place, and all of the various connections and collaborations that can happen even from day one and welcoming a new employee into an organization. I thought that was amazing. So Ali McKee, thank you for delivering that. I'll be forever trying to catch up to you in our day in the life sessions and segments that we have here on 27 Degrees. Rowan, what else did you key in on from the Workspace Summit?
I love the release from Google and the news around the building of these new sovereign controls for Workspace. So Google building upon the kind of assured controls that they've created in Workspace already around, and these are really tools built for the enterprise as compliance needs. Particularly, I guess they're targeting at EU and European organizations that really have these strict compliance requirements around data. And Workspace or Google is building tools into Workspace to allow organizations to have control of that and meet these compliance requirements. So I think this is a commitment from Google really reaching quite far into the future, and it's going to be a path of development we see over months and years, frankly. But I love the commitment from Google to allowing organizations in Europe and other way around the world that have strict compliance requirements to take advantage of the Workspace platform.
Yeah, so if you weren't able to attend the event live, don't fret. Like I said, we've got a link down below to check out all of the segments from the Workspace Summit on demand. And we'd love to hear your feedback in the comments section below on what was your favorite announcement this year. Looking forward about a week's time, Google keeps the announcements coming. And really, this is the celebration for developers around the Google community. And we see lots of announcements around all of the various Google Cloud platforms typically come out. One thing we don't normally see, though, is some hardware announcements. That was some exciting developments this year.
That's right. And all the chat is about Pixel this year, right? We have the Pixel phone, the Pixel watch, and wow, even the Pixel Buds as well, developments on that too. So incredible developments there. And also, I think something we could maybe mention, something we've touched upon before in the show, is the Google Glass program as well. And we had the new development or capability that Google kind of demonstrated for that in terms of real-time language translation. So when you're wearing the glasses, you can use this capability when someone's speaking to you. Google will provide on the text in AR, it will provide the captions of the translated language that the person's speaking in your native language. An incredible capability that I can see having broad usage from a number of different people across the globe in many different organizations. It's so exciting to see that kind of technology being demonstrated by Google and actually existing in the real world.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how all of this consumer technology that Google is putting out into the hardware space starts to impact the hybrid and fully remote working lives of Google Workspace users. There weren't a shortage of announcements around Google Workspace either. I think we saw a large focus on the integration of more Google AI and machine learning into the products within Google Workspace. Specifically, Meet got quite a bit of attention. Rowan, what were a couple of the AI announcements that we saw around Google Workspace?
I saw demonstrate the feature of a kind of studio-like experience almost in terms of lighting control, where you can control the direction and kind of the intensity or the positioning of the lighting and really control how you're displaying yourself. And I think it's great that these capabilities, which would kind of be, they would require expertise and usually enhanced equipment. I think it's incredible that Google's able to, through software and innovation, provide this to anyone who uses Meet, regardless of the actual hardware that they have in place. It's completely agnostic to that. And so I love to see things like that. The ability to control your appearance and background control in Meet is a theme that we've seen Google continue to develop upon.
One thing that I really loved that Google touched on around the integration of AI is summaries coming to chat and spaces. You'll actually be able to get a summary of a space from Google, and that's allowing you to digest all of the action that's going on in that space back and forth between your team. When maybe you're in focus time and concentrated on another project, you'll be able to quickly get a summary and catch up on what you missed in that space. So I think that's great. It's something that I know I struggle with on a day-to-day basis. We have such a strong sort of community and culture of using chat and spaces here at SADA. And oftentimes I feel like I'm scrolling to catch up. So I appreciate that update coming from Google too.
Absolutely love that one for sure. And another one that caught my eye, something I think we've been talking about and thinking about for a while, and we've been kind of teased by Google and this capability coming, and they again showed it and kind of committed to the fact that it's going to be generally available in Workspace later this year. And that is the ability to have transcription automatically from a Meet call. So the verbal content of what you're saying in the call will be transcribed automatically by Google into a document, into a Google Doc, so that you can use that content to recap on the meeting. Even maybe if you didn't attend, you could catch up. And of course, you can add action items and it becomes a working document, like almost the minutes automatically of the meeting for you. Isn't that amazing, Troy? And a real evolution of the way that we do meetings. I feel like this is really going to influence actually how people run meetings and provide maybe allow people to focus on the content a lot more than having to actually take notes, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a video conferencing component, a Google Meet component to a lot of organizations' meetings, whether they're partially in office, fully in office. I think that's a consistent piece of meetings that are here to stay and forever changed by the move to remote work. We actually did a segment on all of the many layers of Gmail security last year in season 1 of 27 Degrees. And just yesterday, Google announced at I/O that all of that security for phishing and malware and spam is now actually coming to docs, slides, and sheets as well. They called out that they've noticed a trend in cybersecurity where with all of the various connected applications that organizations are using, they've seen new attack faces come to the surface. So this is their reaction to that, and I think everyone can get behind us feeling a little bit safer while we're being productive at work.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I think that's one of the most helpful security features in Gmail is that warning banner that appears when an email maybe comes through the spam filter because it meets some criteria of being safe, but really when the end user checks it out, they realize it's not, and they have to do a little double check. And I think that warning message at the top or that banner to just inform the user that they maybe need to check this email out and not fully trust it quite yet is very effective in catching those that maybe get through the spam filter but need the sort of user intervention to be fully secure. So again, love Google's commitment on that.
Yeah, and so we saw, I guess, updates across the board in Google Workspace. We saw updates for hardware as well. I think we're going to be continuing to watch these stories as they develop throughout the year. So make sure you hit subscribe, turn on notifications. You don't want to miss any episode of 27 Degrees this year because Google's really bringing the heat on all of these announcements and updates.